today we're doing something unusual. We are meeting three personalities. They have something in common. They are national heroes, and they have worked in Ebola-stricken countries. They have so much love for humanity. And I think we should just meet up with them and talk about their experiences and maybe learn some lessons from them. Let's meet up with them. Welcome back on PM Personality, or Personalities Profile if you call it, because we have three guests and they have something in common. As I told you earlier, we're going to talk to them about what drives them, what makes them who they are, and what identifies them as a group. So I have to my immediate left Dr. Levine Ajima, who is a senior medical officer at the Pantan Hospital. Then just after her, I have Seth Ajiman, who is a biomedical scientist at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And then I have Bridget Icha Idriama, who is also a nurse and a quality assurance person at the Fiankwanta Government Hospital. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, so Dr. Levina, what kind of upbringing did you have? Strict?
I would say strict, extremely strict. My father was a lecturer at the University of Ghana, and he was really strict. The old time where you would hear him coming and you run away because you have a lot of things to do, and he expects that you do them by the time.
Okay.
Everything, every privilege is earned. You are not entitled to any privileges unless you have earned them.
Okay.
Yes, and he instilled hard work and integrity, professionalism. Everything about you must be by the book.
Okay, so that made you who you are. You say your father has contributed largely to who you are.
Well, both parents, if I should say.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so do you see yourself, you see your father in you?
A bit. As much as when we were growing up, we didn't really like that. But growing up and appreciating life, I mean, I think I appreciate what he took us through.
Seth, how strict were your parents?
Well, my dad is very strict. My dad wasn't really our friend. But, he was very much interested in our education, though he didn't get the opportunity to school. I come from a very staunch Catholic home where you are supposed to go to church. And Sunday you don't take communion, your father will ask you, why didn't you go for communion? My parents have been very helpful because we come from a typical village, Bepoase, in the Ashanti region, in the valley. So we were made to understand you need to learn to succeed. You don't learn, you weave kente. So who I am today is largely because of my father's strictness.
What is one value they taught you that you can't do without?
His quietness. He hardly talks. So if he's coming to speak, then you can see that he's really thought of it.
Really? So you're a quiet person?
I used to.
In some respects.
Work has changed me.
Until now?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah,
Bridget,
I'm still a quiet person.
Are you also a quiet person? You don't come across like one.
I am, honestly, yes.
I believe you.
Yes. I'm kind of quiet. I don't talk a lot. I talk when I have to, yes. So I would say I'm kind of a quiet person, yes. Yes. And about my upbringing, I was brought up in quite an extended family.
Okay.
Yes. I lived in an extended family house where I had my mom, aunties, grandparents, and even my great-grandparents was alive. Yes,
you are
my
lucky.
great-grandmom was alive. She died when I was 11, so I had all these people, brothers, sisters, cousins. We lived in quite a huge house, but my dad was quite absent, so I was brought up by my mom and other extended family members. Yes.
Okay, that's nice. Seth, how is your daily routine like a professional Seth? What is your day like?
I woke up very early to read. I'm trained as a biomedical scientist and also as an immunologist.
What do you do? That one is too big for someone who is watching. Just break it down.
Well, I'm just a lab scientist who works in a medical laboratory setting. We are mostly into research and diagnosis. You know, so mostly I'm on a morning shift, but sometimes it works into the afternoon. I wake up very early to do my usual jogging. And
hey, fitness expert.
Yeah, I try my best.
Okay.
I try my best. Work starts early, 7:30, 8. You should be at work. And at Kolebu, you can imagine. I work in the immunology department. Our main work is with HIV patients and HIV samples. So you can imagine what we do a day. And we close around 4 or 5. We come home so exhausted.
That's how your day ends.
Yeah.
Do you do anything for fun at all?
Yes, sometimes.
What do you do for fun? Jogging?
No, I love seeing places with
Okay.
friends, especially with a special friend. I love to see places. I'm a very adventurous.
Special friend?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, let's go, special friend. So you like going places, seeing new places.
I like seeing new places.
What does that make you feel like? Makes you feel like you're exploring or something?
I think I'm adventurous. I love to see what is there, especially when I hear about the place. I say, let's go see the place.
I see. Dr. Livina, as for your work, I need to understand. Who do you work with?
I work with mentally challenged or mentally ill patients. And my day starts quite early too, because I have a family, have to take care of them, have a husband and 2 children, and then I set off to work. Currently, I'm in training to be a specialist in psychiatry.
Okay.
So I shuttle between Pantang, Accra Psychiatric Hospital, and Kolebu. Currently, I am stationed in Pantang. So then I go to work, we have our clinical meetings, we set off to the ward and to the outpatient clinic. And sometimes you are called in to do 1 or 2 things afterwards. Sometimes you do administrative duties as well, because it's all part of the training. Yeah.
Bridget,
Yes.
how do you set apart how you feel at any moment to work on another person with a problem, especially being a nurse? You know, you go to work, you have your own mood swings and everything. Here you are, somebody comes, you must set all apart and work on that person. How do you do it?
Yes. You know, we have professional ethics that you have to follow. You don't have to men's business with pleasure, let me put it that way, or men's work with how you feel. You have to do what you have to do as a nurse. So no matter how you feel, whether you're angry, whether you're sad, or however you feel, you don't have to carry it out on your patients. You have to treat your patients with respect, with dignity, and you have to do everything that you need to do to help your patient. So no matter how you feel when you get onto the ward, you have to put everything aside and put on your professional gown and work.
That's like acting for me.
Well, I wouldn't say it's acting. No, it's not. When you act, you can work as a nurse or as a medical person, because in acting, I think you can make things up when you're acting, but in professionalism, you can't respect someone if you are not respectful. Pretend you're respectful or treat somebody with dignity if that's not who you are or how you were trained up to become. So acting is different from being professional when it comes to medical practice. Yes,
but the way you're able to snap from your mood to, you know, I need to take care of you, so I'm going to take care of you.
You can't just snap out of it.
Okay.
You have to, let me say, sublime into it.
Okay.
Yes, you can't just snap out of it. You have to do it because you have to do it. No matter how much a patient gets on your nerve. Yes, you are human, but it doesn't mean you should go out and, just shout on your patient or act out your frustrations on a patient. No.
Livina, of all the professions, why would you want to train to become a psychiatrist?
I have had this question 1,001 times. And in fact, you'll be amazed that now there are a lot more women in psychiatry than probably in the last 10 years. For me, I didn't start off saying when I became a medical person that I was going to be a psychiatrist. I started off work as a house officer, then a medical officer. Then I was thinking, what should I do? What should I do? I had 1,001 things on my mind. Then I Then I was a medical officer at Pantan. So I talked to a senior colleague and said, oh, I'm thinking of A, B, C, D. He said, have you thought about psychiatry? And I told him, no, I didn't go there to be a psychiatrist. But he said, wait a minute, have you really thought about the work there? I said, well, no, I don't think I'm cut out to be a psychiatrist. He said, no, think of it as any other specialty and the uniqueness of it and the opportunities in it. So I went back, talked to another colleague who is a psychiatrist back at my facility, and a question I asked him was, do you see me as a psychiatrist? And he just laughed and said, oh, I think because of A, B, C, D, I think you will do well. So think about it. So then I wrote the exam and set off to start the training.
But how unique is that?
I was surprised to find psychiatry is so interesting and such a vast and in fact, you have to be in it to understand it. It's amazing why in the outward it's not portrayed the way it is. There are people who rotate through psychiatry from other specialties and they tell themselves, I think I should have been a psychiatrist. Some people actually halt whatever program they're doing and come do psychiatry because they have fallen in love with it. It's such that on the outward it has a lot of negative connotations, but when you are in it, you appreciate the effort and the change you make in another person, and the love and laugh it comes with. You can't help but fall in love. Yes.
So, Seth, yours is equally dangerous. You work with blood samples, I guess. Don't you fear you're exposing yourself to some kind of danger, especially when you mention the HIV patients?
Well, your training is taught you to be safe. One critical aspect of laboratory is health and safety, because you need to be strong to stay alive and to help others. We try it as much as possible to be protective. I mean, wearing your gears, touching what you are supposed to touch at the right time. Laboratory is very safe, and it's also very interesting because we can handle so many lives at the same time. Like a doctor seeing one patient for 10 minutes, I can touch 100 patients within an hour through my samples. It's not really scary, but if you should handle them safely, laboratory is as safe as you can think of.
But is my life safe in your hands in the laboratory? Because I've heard the story of laboratory technicians messing up samples and then giving names of A to B or sample of A to B, and it leaves me worried.
Well, errors do happen, but in the health sector we can't give room for mistakes. We try as much as possible not to make mistakes. That is why we have different standards and different controls. In terms of, we have something called pre-analytical controls. Before you work, you check your samples to be sure they tally, and whilst you work, you check. After work, you check, and usually you have different people working with you. You don't only your eye, So, as much as possible, we try to not to make mistakes. But normally, when mistakes happen, we see them looking at your data and your diagnosis. You could know that you've swapped samples or something. But by and large, we try as much as possible.
Are you worried there are so many untrained people in your field? Because I've noticed so many laboratories are springing up in containers, in kiosks, everywhere you go, and they're doing all sort of things. And I wonder, who gave them the certification to even operate from where they are? Are you worried?
It's very unfortunate. Laboratory practice has been long in Ghana, yet we didn't really have an LI. We just had our legislative instrument, I think 2 years ago. So now the council is rolling up a program to be able to control the practice of the profession, from training to the practice. So I'm sure very soon we'll be rolling out programs to standardize practice. But as of now, we have a lot happening, as you say. But I'm sure some time to come it will change.
You can weed them out. Bridget, what's the peculiar challenge you face in your field of work?
As a nurse?
As a nurse, yes.
Okay. As a nurse, we have, we do get a few challenges at work. You know, we hear nurses are tagged as, as disrespectful people.
Yes.
Some do not have sympathy towards patients. They vent their frustrations on patients and relatives and all of that. Yes, sometimes it happens like, and it's one problem that we do face, especially with patients. We are human. In as much as we are nurses, yes, we have to behave professionally, but we are human as well. Sometimes you get a patient gets on your nerve so much so that if you're not careful, you would say what you don't have to say or do what you don't have to do.
Okay.
So I think those are some of the challenges that we face in our profession, you know. But with that, I think that you have to be self-controlled and you have to be empathetic as well. Because sometimes a patient's condition will lead him or her to do something which is kind of out of line. But it doesn't mean that you should also respond in a very negative way or maybe treat the patient.
After all, you are the professional.
Yes, you are the professional. So you have to behave professionally. You have to be empathetic and know that maybe it's because this patient is in this condition that
That's why it's
behaving like this.
that.
Yes, and maybe you have a relative who doesn't really understand why you do some things that you do, especially with regards to visiting hours. You know, there are some patients that really need to rest.
Okay, okay.
But because
I
the
think
person...
we don't understand that one at all.
We don't. Because the person has lots of friends or in kind of a higher position, so you get a lot of people coming in to see this patient. So you tell them that, no, this patient needs rest. Kindly let the patient rest. Even though it's visiting hours, please don't be long, or we are not allowing visitors at all. And they don't understand you.
Yeah.
And, you know, so those are the situations that put nurses in those
Bad lights.
Bad lights, yes.
All right. So, on that nursing note, you heard her speak so nursey. She's speaking to you and nursing you with this kind of speech. I am sure you'll be well in no time. But we'll pause here and come back and talk more on PM Personalities profile. Welcome, we're still on PM Express Personalities profile, and I still have with me Dr. Levina, Seth, and then Bridget. And we're going to talk about your experience going to work in an Ebola-stricken country. How did the call to go and do this come to you, Levina?
I had a phone call. Well, I think I was called by a friend at my facility. And he said, oh, they're looking for people to go and work in Liberia. I thought it was a joke, one of the things he does. I said, oh, be serious. He said, oh, I'm really serious. I said, oh, really? Have you written your name? He said, yes. Okay, go and write my name, but I'm going to still think about it. So then I went home. I was called to come for a training. Initially when I went, they said, oh, I was supposed to be training from Monday to Friday, deployment on Saturday. I said, hey? In fact, my mind was, I'm going for the training. Then later I'll come and sit at home and decide whether or not to go. But everything happened so fast. And so when we went, there were other people from other nationals with different professions. Everybody mentions their name. They say, hey, so all these people are going. Ghana, we're all in the same geographical location. If we say we don't go, what will happen? And then the unfortunate happens, what will we do? We also ask for people to help us. So, okay, let me just do it.
Let me go and help. Seth, did you also get a phone call?
Well,
or you were pushed?
No. Before this major one, Mr. Sego, He is a deputy chief biomedical scientist. He actually trained me. He has seen 2 Ebola episodes in Congo.
Okay.
So in August, he actually took me to Liberia to train people. So that made me see Ebola. So when this call came, actually I didn't want to go because of what I had seen previously. But for humanity and I'm too adventurous, and I really wanted
yes,
to
go. You like seeing new places.
Yeah.
Opportunity.
I also thought it was an opportunity to now see and touch and do Ebola. Well, I didn't know the end results, whether I would come back alive or something will happen, but
You
I really
think
wanted.
about that?
I thought of it because by then a lot of health workers had died.
Yes.
And I was afraid too, but I really wanted to go.
Your adventure overrode the fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe the love of humanity.
Okay. That's so nice to hear it. So you people don't just exist in books. You're around.
Oh.
We are real, we're not statues.
Humanity is like, you know, I'm asking because, Bridget, I'll come to you. Tell me how you got yours. But we've come to the point that people don't believe people do things genuinely anymore. It's always about what they will get in return. That is the perception. That's why I'm saying you don't exist in books. There are still genuine people like you around. And you, Bridget, didn't you think about family before you decided to go and do Ebola?
Well, I did. I was in a workshop in Cape Coast, a workshop on Ebola management in Cape Coast, when Dr. Kaba, he is with the ministry, he came to open the workshop. So during the workshop, I think on the same first day, he opened the workshop and left. And then after about 2 hours, he came back that he had a call from the presidency that we were supposed to send a contingent, health workers to Liberia to help fight Ebola. So he's going to take a paper round. Whoever is interested should write down his or her name. And everybody was like, oh. So the paper started going around. Empty, empty, empty. It's just going around. Empty, 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 empty. And it came to me. As soon as it came to me, I wrote down the name of my colleague who had passed on the paper. She's a clinical psychologist. She went with us to Liberia, Vida. I wrote down her name first, and then I wrote down my name. And I beckoned her and told her I'd written down her name.
You must get a companion.
She was like, what? Are you crazy? And I'm like, yes, we are going to go. So the paper went round and round and round. And we had just 4 names.
Of how many people in the room?
We were about 40 or more.
Okay.
We had just 4 people write down their names. And then the man came back and was like, oh. Please, my people, just think about it. You know, Ebola is out there. It might get to us. So please write down your names and let's see what we can do. So we had a few more people write down their names. And others were like, okay, let me go home, think about it. And then we will go to our regional health directorate later. And that was on Friday. On Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon, we had a call from the ministry that we were supposed to report in Accra on Monday morning for a workshop, for a 5-day workshop. And then we'll be taken to Liberia. And I was like, oh God.
Ebola zone.
Okay. So I called my friend Vida and I told her, and she told me, oh yes, I've also received the same phone call. I said, so what are we going to do?
Change your mind.
I thought we were joking about this, but it looks like this thing is really serious. He said, well, we can attend the workshop anyway. When it's time for us to leave, we can come back to Takrady. And so we came to Accra, started the workshop. In the course of the workshop, I think the 3rd day or so, we were told that you're not going to go back to wherever you came from. Right after the workshop, you are going to be deployed to wherever you are going to be deployed to. And like, oh God, help.
I've not said goodbye to anyone.
Now, you know, when I wrote down my name, I think during the lunch break, I called my husband. And I told him that, oh, this is the situation. I wrote down my name. And The text message he sent me was a very bold, no way. And
obviously.
So I told my friend right now about it, and she was like, oh, you know, people react to situations in different ways. So this is the first situation that, yes. So I have to just wait, talk to him later, and he might understand. So I kept talking to him, and because I really wanted to go. Yes. Later on, I really, really wanted to go.
Aww.
Yes. So I talked to him about it, and then, you know, he said, well, if that's what I want to do, I can go ahead. But my mom was also very, very supportive.
I knew family will come in.
Yeah.
My mom was very, very supportive. When I told him, I told my brothers and all, they were all like, go girl, you can do it, just go.
I'm sure they're proud of you now. You came back. But said, there were challenges out there. Nobody would, on a normal day, run and say, I'm going to an Ebola-stricken zone. But you have decided to go. When you got there, was the situation what you were expecting?
Well, I was expected to be sent to Liberia because we chose our names. And at that time, because I had seen Liberia already, I wanted to go back. But I heard my name in Sierra Leone. I remember as soon as I heard my name, I ran to my mentor, Mr. Sego. Mr. Sego, they gave me Sierra Leone. I said, no, don't worry, we'll go. Actually, when we got there, the first day from the airport to our hotel, everybody was like, wow, so this is what we are coming to see. From the bus that took us to our hotel, then we realized that no, we are in a very poor country and coming to fight a very dangerous disease. You know, it was scary for most of us. I'm sure that night most of us didn't sleep. I kept on looking at the ceiling and looking at time and looking at time before I realized it was the next day. But from the next day, I saw in the face of people like we were ready to work. And Mr. Sego, our coordinator, we encouraged ourselves. You know, we were there as a family. We were 13 Ghanaians who went to Sierra Leone. And we're like a family. We're like, we'll do it and we'll go back home safely. Though we were not expecting what we saw, but it was dirtier than what we had really expected.
Oh.
It was too dirty because our team, as soon as we got there, it was announced that Ghanaian experts, Ebola experts, are in. You know, so the ministry quickly gave us a whole Ebola treatment unit, and we're like, no, we don't have Ebola in Ghana. I've never seen Ebola in Ghana, but they said Ebola experts, and because you are from Ghana,
you're experts in book.
we had to be Ebola experts
by force.
So we were given the whole treatment center to work, and I can't really describe. I wish I had the videos to show Ghanaians. It was dirtier than we thought.
Dr. Levina, what did you see?
I went to Liberia. We arrived and the airport was silent. Practically no action. Dead. All we saw was just a UN plane that brought us. And throughout the journey to the hotel, there seemed to be no life. It was like driving through rural Ghana. You see one touch here, one block building here, and then we got to the city. Then we lodged in the hotel. When we got to the hotel, we didn't really want to touch anything. In fact, even the seat to sit on, we are suspicious. So everything, you're cautious. You don't want to lie on linen. You don't want to touch a door handle, just so that you don't make a mistake. Then gradually we settled in. We started our daily routines. It was a huge challenge because when you sit back and think about it, the truth of the matter was you signed up for something. Should you even have malaria and lose your life, you are not going to be flown back home. You're going to be wrapped in some hot plastic bag, buried somewhere in someone's land. Your family might not even get your body to part with you. Okay, so thinking about all that, we just told ourselves, no matter what it is, we're going to go back home. And so we have to support each other. We have to be each other's buddies, make sure that we all do the right thing collectively because we live together. And so gradually we went through, and then thank God we came back safely. But it was a huge challenge. When we got to Liberia, Ebola had gone down drastically, but there were a few cases coming in. So then some were sent to the ETUs. The main focus then was restoration, because as part of the epidemic, their major health centers were closed because it became so scary. Nobody wanted, the health workers were not going to work because everybody is afraid, and so the facilities closed down. So now the focus was getting life back into the health system. So then were deployed to some of the health facilities, some of the existing ETUs, and played various roles in our capacities till we came back.
Okay. Bridget, what was your initial reaction when you got there? Were you scared like Lavina here?
Honestly, I was. Because you get to a country where, I don't know if the airport was closed down because of the disease, but there was not a single plane in the airport. The airport was virtually dead, you know, and there were weeds, you know, it had grown weeds, and you know, yes, it was virtually deserted. And later on we learned that it was because of the Ebola, so no planes were coming in, no planes were flying out. So you get to such a country and you know that, yes, you are really in for something. So we got there and we were all quite scared. Even the bus that took us from the plane to the terminal, to the VIP lounge, you know, nobody wanted to touch anything in the bus. Nobody wanted to even sit in the seats, you know. we were just standing. We didn't even want to hold the handles in the bus and all of that. You just had to make yourself steady in the bus so you don't fall. You know, yeah, so everybody was very much scared and afraid.
Because of what you had heard?
Yes, because of what we had
training.
That, yes, we had training. But you see on TV that there are dead bodies on the streets. You know, people are dying every day like flies. So we were very, very much scared. But we got there and then, yeah, because we had training and we were very much supportive of each other, like Lavina said. It wasn't that difficult to, you know, start work or anything, because we also underwent training in Liberia as well.
Okay.
The Liberian government also made it a policy that before you go to work in the ETU or wherever in Liberia, you must have some training. So we went through weeks of cold training and hot training. The cold training was outside of the Ebola treatment centers, and the hot training was actually on the wards where we had Ebola patients. Yes.
Okay.
So we had to go through that.
Okay. Bridget always takes me to a break. So I will take a break, but there's so much more to talk about the experience they gathered there in Sierra Leone and then in Liberia. So we'll be back. We are at Alisa Hotel and we are on PM Express Personalities Profile, and I still have Seth, Bridget and Lavina with me, and we are talking about their Ebola experience at the Ebola-stricken countries. They went to work there and they came back national heroes or heroines. So Lavina, what challenge did you face on the field? Did you see something you were not expecting?
A lot. For starters, you are in a different country, different people, different nuances, language. In as much as is English speaking, the way the Liberian speaks is different. Their jargons, their everyday is so different. And so sometimes being able to understand when somebody is talking to you is a challenge. And then also getting into the stream of work, because initially we thought we were going to work in the solely in the treatment centers, but along the line we had to go to the restoration where they're trying to revive their health care. And so thinking about that, if you're in a treatment center, you know this is it, and so you take full precautions. When you are at the other side, any patient at all can be a suspect, and so you have to be extra vigilant. don't let down your guard in any way. So every day you get up, you know that you have to be extra careful so that you come home alive, because you may never know if a patient is found to have Ebola and at some point you came into contact with them, then you have to be quarantined for 21 days. And that will mean that should any of the team have such an experience, the entire group that's living in the same area with them may, yes,
in the same manner.
Yes. And so it was a huge challenge when we had to go out of the treatment centers and really work in a regular facility.
Okay, Seth, how many days did you spend in Sierra Leone?
Days, 3 months.
You spent 3 months, and for that 3 months, I'm sure you were living a day at a time. Did you come in touch directly with patients, Ebola patients?
Yes, for our ET, we had 10 Francophone speaking doctors amongst us. So when we got there, we realized that they couldn't speak English. So now as a lab, some things that had to become a doctor, you are a cleaner. So my day, we go in the morning, we have our clinical meeting, we know the number of patients we have. I prepare chlorine, I go carry my waste, you know. Then you go with the cleaners to clean, and you go inside to check on all patients. And as a lab scientist, you take new blood samples. Those who are also on treatment, when they are doing better, we take new samples. I also had the opportunity to be trained by the European mobile team. Okay. So I was working in the lab in the afternoon. So from Monday to Saturday, you work in the ward from morning to maybe 1, 2. You go to the lab, you work till 8 p.m. before you come back to the hotel. You rest only on Sundays, you know, and working in Ebola treatment, it was a different experience for me, especially seeing people dying every day, and also realizing that you can pick the infection at any point in time. The most dangerous part is when you have headache, maybe in the morning or in the evening, or you have a little fever, then you are scared.
Thinking
you start going back. Did I make a mistake somewhere? And it's very traumatized, you know. My worst fear sometime was when a bat entered our bus and hit me. I didn't know it was a bat, so after hitting the whatever down, we saw that it was a bat. I was like, from where? Maybe no fruit bats can. You know, so it wasn't easy, especially working from Monday to Saturday, morning to evening in a strange land. And but we were encouraged, especially with our colleagues. You know, we were just ready to do it, and we thank God also for our families back and our friends who used to encourage us through WhatsApp. And so such a nice experience. Sundays, I went to church 4 times. The 4th time, I stopped going to church again because during the Mass, I didn't see the priest actually coughing. But during the communion session, you join a queue, you wash your hands in chlorine, and you take your communion. But I noticed there was a queue. The priest was standing there, no one was going to him. So I thought, let me go to him and brush and come and sit down. When I was going, somebody pulled me. How did they go there? The priest said, don't cough. The priest is coughing, so everybody I was like, wow, even in church, we're even afraid of the Ebola.
The discrimination.
And after that Sunday, I said, I think Sunday I'll rather rest at home.
God knows I'm here to work. God, let me just do my work and go back. But those were the challenges. Bridget, for you, how was the experience living a day at a time? Because you don't know what you're going to meet tomorrow. When the day ends, then you go like, God, I thank you. How was it?
I wouldn't say it was a very pleasant experience, knowing that you could catch the disease anytime if you are careless. You know, there were points in time, especially during our early days, that when we go to the market, we come back home with our foodstuffs. We soak them in chlorine for about 15 minutes. Yes, 0.05% chlorine for about 15 minutes. We rinse them with water before we eat the food, because we know that Ebola can be transferred through just contact. Yes. So we were so careful that we saw everybody as a suspect, you know. So, I want to buy this from this woman. She handled the food. She gave me a change. She touched the money and I touched it back. I touched the foodstuffs that she gave me. So as soon as you come, first thing on your mind is chlorine solution. Before you even enter your room, you wash your hands with chlorine solution. You soak the vegetables or whatever you want.
What a routine.
Yes. We just had to do that to keep safe. So it was like you're living on the edge of a hill, which you know you might tip off any day and fall down. So it was quite an experience. You know, you wouldn't want to live such a life.
But it taught you some values and some lessons.
Of course, it did.
Share with us.
It did teach us a lot. That especially with practice of infection prevention and control techniques. You know, it really helped us a lot because we had to carry our hand sanitizers with us wherever we went, especially to the market or to open places, and even amongst us as health workers that we went. You know, you don't trust anyone.
You don't even shake hands, eh?
No, there were no handshakes, there were no hugs, no contact. You know, you meet someone, you want to greet the person, you just wave or you just tap your chest.
That is so unlike us.
So unlike Ghanaians. Or you just tap your chest to show some love, you know. That was how we were greeting each other in Liberia. Not even with our own health professionals that we went with.
It will be
you
an
know,
awkward
you are careful
moment
when you go into somebody's room because you don't know where the person has gone to. You don't know who the person has come into contact with. Yes.
Okay. So, Dr. Livina, doing this for a period, we are forced, or you were forced, the health workers who went to live a certain kind of life, which is not you. Did it have any impact on your mental status?
As human beings, we react differently, and depending on whatever the stress is, depending on how long and how severe, anybody can have a break at some point. Okay. But for us, what worked for us was seeing each other as our own support. There are days that we felt like crying, and we cried. Okay. One will console the other. There were days that we are all very happy, we accommodate each other. But through it all, one thing that we learned to do, and I think that's a great lesson that it taught us when we were there, is to see ourselves as one. That our weakest link is that one person who is unstable. And so through it all, we made sure that everybody stuck to the routine. If you wanted somebody to talk to, you can walk in anybody's door and knock and then be listened to. We had meetings amongst ourselves. There are times that as human beings we disagree, but then we'll talk it out. You could talk to anybody.
Ideas in those forums.
So at that point, everybody was your sister, everybody was your brother, everybody was your father. We saw ourselves as one, regardless of your profession, your age, your designation. At that point, what was important was we are here to work and we want to go home alive, and so we see ourselves as one.
I think that spirit kept you guys going. But coming back home, let's come back home. I know you have so many experiences to share. Coming back home, how did it feel? I remember detailing a crew to go and cover the arrival because we had that information. And when the reporter came back, the first video I saw that I still remember that is striking is the group walking out of the airport, and then one of you, I can still make him out if I see him today, going like this. Oh God. And I was so touched. I said, this man couldn't wait to come back home. But how was it for you, Seth, coming back home?
Well, we thought we were going to stay there for 6 months, and I think some...
Hey, you want to do more?
Actually, when we got there, we wanted to stay there for long because we became so part of the work, and fighting was not easy, but it became very interesting because we also saw survivors. You know, when we see a survivor, we're so happy. But touching Ghana, it was like, wow, I'm back home. Because when I was there were so many instances I thought I caught the virus. And there were even an instance I had to add my sample to the Ebola samples to run, telling them it's a negative control. Because, I mean, you don't know whether you caught the virus or not. But coming back to Ghana I couldn't control my tears when we got to the airport. I was so happy and also sad. And I couldn't do enough than to thank God for coming back home alive. And I can't describe it, but I wasn't sure that I was in Ghana. It was like a dream. Wow, we are back.
I'm back.
So when you look
Clean.
back to what you were wearing and how you were sleeping, what you were eating, before you eat,
place
you
like
use
home.
disposable spoons. Sometimes you dip your spoon in bleach before you use it to eat.
What a
And
life.
I'm back home, and I'm going to walk to my home. And even when they gave us the hotel to sleep for a day, I said, no, I want to go
You
home.
still want to go home.
And I went
But
home.
Bridget, when you got home, what was the reaction? Home.
Home.
Proper.
Home.
Home.
Home sweet home.
Yeah.
You know, they had planned a surprise party for me, you know. So as soon as I got home, opened the door, you know, champagne just popped and everybody was like, yeah, come home. And I was so excited, you know, everybody was so happy. My mom, my brothers and sisters, everybody was just so excited that I was back home, because back here, while we were there, you know, they were still hearing news of people dying, health professionals still getting infected and all of that. So they were praying earnestly for our safety and all that. So getting back home, it was such a happy moment, you know, coming back home to normal life.
Yeah.
You know, yes.
So when you were
Normal
going, what
life.
did you tell your children?
Oh, my children are young.
Yes, so they don't need any
They
explanation.
didn't really. I even if I did, I don't remember if I did. I think I did, but I wasn't really expecting them to understand anyway. They'll just know that, oh, mommy is not around, and then they'll wake up a few days later and then probably. But there were days when I'll just remember my kids, and then I'll tell myself, oh, if I could pick them up from school, and then tears will start rolling, because just even helping your child through homework became so much of a treasure that you miss when you are doing these things. And for me, thinking about home, I thought, people travel and say, they tell them, oh, you will see Kutuka, and they don't want to come. For that one, I want to see Kutuka. We got to Ghana, and it was just a dream come true, that we all came safe and everybody was happy.
Okay. Now let's talk about all this. I'm tearing, but it's okay. This whole experience, you didn't do it with some reward or award at the back of your mind. Then you got home, and there was national honors for you.
Yeah.
How do you feel receiving that? Obviously, basically, you are excited about it. But what is that telling you? What are you taking from it? Say.
Well, honestly, going for this Ebola, I thought I was just going to come back. Before we came from Sierra Leone, we had about 6 certificates from Sierra Leone alone, from the Ghana Embassy, from the Ministry of Health, from our ETU, and I also got another certificate from the European Union lab, you know, so I was a happy man. But when we came to Ghana, and we had our first heroes welcome by the Vice President.
Yes.
Even going to Flagstaff House was such an honor.
Yeah.
I mean, when we got there, we were like, wow, they should have allowed us to bring our phones here.
So you can take selfies,
Wow,
you know?
I always pass in front of the Flagstaff House. And, you know, it was such a great honor. I mean, and we were so happy for ourselves. It made us more humble. And I think most of us were even ready. That day, I'm sure they were deploying us back.
It was a call to duty. Just
again,
a
we
call
said,
to
oh, like,
duty.
we'll go back. Because we know when we come back, we'll meet the president and shake him. Then crowning it all with a grand medal, you know.
Can I get the grand medal? Can I have one of them so we can show it
Dr.
off? Let's show off our grand medal, you know. But receiving it, you know, it's not just a handshake with presidents, but receiving an honor. You're going to show to the rest of your colleagues. Of the 40, 4 of you wrote your names. The rest who didn't write and all that. How do you feel about that?
I feel so excited.
Yeah, you can tell.
I feel so excited because such honors do not just come around any day. You know, they come as a result of hard work and dedication to one's nation. So to receive an honorary plaque plus a
So this is just one of them,
Yes.
of the
Yes.
many they receive for their hard work and dedication to humanity.
Yes, to receive such an honor, you know, I don't know how to put it in words, but I'm so excited and I feel blessed because not everyone will get this medal in his or her lifetime,
Yes.
you know, and at our age, you know, we are not too young, but we are quite young.
Yes, compared to Aparijan,
Yes.
you are young.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and he is receiving his at 70 after supervising how many elections? Hard work, serious hard work.
Yes, you know.
So-
So to receive this honor at our age and at this time of our lives, I think it's a great achievement. Yes, and we have to give all thanks to God because I believe that it's the doing of God.
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Levina,
Yes.
what are you going to tell your kids about this honor?
Well, for me, I think I would dedicate it to, first of all, my parents, my husband, and my children, because they have been my support. Any day I want to make sure I come back alive is to these people and the family as a whole. I would tell them, really, I did this for them, that tomorrow they will remember that their mother did this for humanity, and so they can even do more than I did. And so this will be a semblance of dedication, love, and service to humanity.
And service to humanity. You know, I'm going to ask one question. I want you all to respond at the same time. If you have the chance to go back to Sierra Leone or Liberia, will you or will you not? If you will, say I will.
I will.
Okay.
But with conditions.
With conditions. I wanted one answer, now I got one answer with conditions, you know. But it's good to know. I think one basic thing is when you do good, you feel good about doing good. So it's easy for you to, you know, wind down and have fun with the good that you have done. Right? So I say congratulations to you three for the honor you've received. It's just a crown that is going to urge you to do more.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure what this means for you is that when you go to world rounds, or you in your lab doing some work, you know someone is watching because you are now a national hero. So someone is watching, and that is more responsibility on you to do greater exploits. Congratulations. We can shake hands, but we won't. Since you have learned not to shake hands and to wash hands several times in chlorine and bleach and everything. We won't shake hands, but we'll urge you on to do greater exploits for Mother Ghana and humanity.